Kıymetli misafirlerimiz, konferansımızın önemli bir konuşmacısı bugün bizlerle birlikte. Woolmark Company Global Strateji Danışmanı Peter Ackyord, yün ve üretimde çevresel mükemmelliğe pozitif katkı başlıklı sunumunu yapmak üzere sahneye davet ediyorum. Mr. Ackyord, I would like to invite you to the stage for your speech, please. Kuvvetli alkışlarla sözü Mr. Ackyord'a bırakıyoruz.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's very pleasing to see a full house. I rather feared that the rumour that the Polyester Association had hired a boat cruise at lunchtime is totally unfounded. So, welcome back. I think, some of you remember English history, as Henry VIII said to his fourth wife, Anne of Cleves, I shan't be keeping you very long. I think I can find the slide. No, go back. I've been in the wool business for about 40 years. I come from 4 generations of wool manufacturers in the north of England, an area which, like modern Turkey, was the industrial hub of wool manufacturing. Wool in apparel is 85% Australian, and it has been since 1807, when the first wool came to my part of the world in the north of England for processing. We have gone through some interesting times, and we're living in interesting times now as I speak. But the interesting times for me were the 1960s and 1970s, when the concept of polyester and plastic slowly... Oh dear, you all right? It's when the speaker does that that it's absolutely terrible. Margaret Thatcher once did that in Beijing, and look what happened to Hong Kong. Ladies and gentlemen, there were some interesting times in the 60s and 70s where wool and natural fibres were replaced by plastic at massive cost to the environment, at massive cost to industrial production of natural, sustainable and biodegradable fibres. I'll show you a slide very shortly where you'll see that wool is 1.2% of global fibre consumption. A small pittance of the total fibre consumption in the world. When I was younger, which is a long time ago, it was 8%. And if we're talking today about an eco-balance, an environmental excellence, which is the title of what I'm saying, I think we've got to remember that if we make a choice, a little choice, we can affect a reversal of the imbalance of nature that we have created by making unnatural things in the world. The price of wool recently has been quite volatile, as you probably noticed. The first complaint I ever get in Istanbul is the price is too high. I can understand that. The EMI, the Eastern Market Indicator that measures the price of wool, when I started the campaign for wool with the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, in 2009, was at 900 Australian cents. A few months ago, it went up to 2,000. Now it's down to 1,500, a rate which I think is probably good for the farmer and good for fashion, but that's always going to be debatable. No one ever agrees on the price. Some interesting little statistics before I show you a few things about the wonders of wool. We must remember, given the conversation this morning, that 90% of what is of fashion, clothing worn in Germany is imported. 94% of fashion and clothing worn in the United Kingdom is imported. And a vast 98%, I believe, of what is worn in the United States is imported. I don't know what your brand preferences are, but if I walk into Ralph Lauren, if I walk into Brooks Brothers, to my American brand preferences and look at the labels, they can be very revealing. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, we're living in a time of younger people with a care for the environment are turning labels and looking. This transparency is not only online, but the transparency is in store. We have 60,000 wool growers in Australia who produce around 220 million kilos of merino wool clean, 78% of which is primarily processed in China. Remember that statistic. It's an important one to retain when you talk about trade wars and when you talk about a trade war with the United States. Anything that's decent in fiber in the States, in wool, will either be made in Canada or made in China or Mexico, or occasionally, if it's frightfully expensive, like my jacket, in Italy. This is a fact of life. We need to understand the global implications of anything that's done, and the global implications come right down to textiles. At Pitti Filati, which I think you all know about, a perfect trade fair in Florence for yarns that's every June for the following winter season, there was a massive reticence on behalf of American customers to place orders and samples for manufacture in China. They were busily looking for possible alternative routes. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, one of those routes is in this room as we speak. I am very much in favour, given my textile background in the UK, into what I call proximity sourcing. It is an important part of the new global ecological handwriting that will be needed to satisfy the demands of the younger generation that need us to be more, how can we say, accountable. So, a few things about wool. That is where wool is globally. You'll see that cellulosics score very well, cotton scores very well, and you'll hear more about cotton this afternoon. We like cotton. I wear cotton shirts. I wear wool jackets, but I wear cotton shirts. We're sort of good bedfellows, if that's not a rude, not a rather vulgar way of talking about it, but it works. Cellulosics, we work with cellulosics, we blend. Viscose and wool is a good blend. We also blend with polyester, but that's another story. Wool, ladies and gentlemen, is 100% biodegradable. I borrowed the Prince of Wales, Prince Charles's garden in central London to bury an acrylic sweater and a wool merino sweater. And I got a rock star, Alex James, to dig it up. And when he dug it up, the wool sweater had totally disintegrated, and not only gone back into the earth, it had enriched the earth. The polyester one, I just shook it and returned it to the place where I got it. They never noticed. So it is 100% biodegradable. These little sheets, by the way, are very much available, and Gulay, make yourself known, Gulay. Gulay is here from the Woolmark company, Istanbul, on the Woolmark stand outside, and if you leave your business card, we'll send you this presentation, and we'll send you these fact sheets. Yeah? Deal? Good. It's natural and renewable. A sheep renews a fleece once a year. Sometimes it's shorn twice a year, but mainly once a year. And it all comes back, and all a sheep needs is is grass and water. It's odor resistant, can you imagine? If you were to be climbing a mountain and wearing a non-wool, I won't mention the other fibre, just get the fibre neutrality there, another fibre, you'll stink to high heaven once you've climbed Mont Blanc. If you wear a wool t-shirt, you will not. You will be fragrant at the top of the mountain. Everybody's ambition, to be fragrant at the top of a mountain, of course. Wool's environmental footprint is being measured and constantly criticized by some of the environmental groups. Sheep are animals, we're animals, and we have certain contributions to make and certain problems with the environment because we actually live. Being alive, you are causing a problem for the environment, but we believe that sheep are not causing any of the problems that some of our gainsayers would wish. Naturally breathable. The thermal management of wool is extraordinary. If you buy a wool t-shirt or if you buy a wool suit, I guarantee that whatever the level of the air conditioning, the wool suit will be far more comfortable because of its thermal management qualities. The carbon cycle is much discussed and much talked about. It's important. We understand it. I actually made a carbon neutral sports jacket. I had the wool hand woven in the Shetland Islands. I had it taken by boat and by bicycle to my Savile Row tailor who made it up by hand on Savile Row. It was totally carbon neutral. The only problem was the price of that jacket was about $3,000. So carbon neutrality, to illustrate, does come at a price. Wool and greenhouse gas, well, animals do have certain digestive problems, just as we do if we've eaten the wrong food. And this is measured, and it's part of life. But I do believe that one thing that sheep do, sheep actually can regenerate a forest. If you look at the work of Alan Severy, an agroeconomist based in California, but originally from Zimbabwe, he will show you perfect evidence of how an animal, a group of animals in a deforested area can regenerate the forest, and grass will grow, because ruminants need grass and nature provides them with grass. About 3 years ago on Channel 5 in Australia, we showed a very unfortunate young child with eczema. And we were wondering whether the properties of soft merino, superfine merino, could be beneficial to a child in distress with eczema. The young boy, aged about, I think, 6 months, wore this merino t-shirt, and the eczema disappeared. It is the wonderful properties of wool working in the field of medical science. This is supposed to be a video. Is it going to work? Should do. I'm afraid my IT skills predate Mustafa Kemal, so let's hope we can get this going. No? Well, it's all about wool being biodegradable in the marine environment. I think they're trying to fix it now. It did work in rehearsal, so it's not impossible.
Two jumpers, what's the difference? Well, one is made from synthetic yarn, producing microfibers as they degrade, permanently threatening the land and the oceans. The other is made from wool, completely biodegradable with very low risk to the planet. Choose the world, choose wool.
And that is not pure publicity, that is peer-reviewed science, done by Dr. Beverly Henry at the University of Queensland and reviewed by her peers globally. I don't know whether you've ever seen The Blue Yonder, which is a film by Attenborough that shows the distress of sea life in a field, in a sea of plastics. We believe that if you choose wool, you will make a difference. It's not difficult. It's a bit like the option you have in these very five-star hotels. Would you like to reuse your towel? And I won't dare ask who did this morning. But it is making a small effort to make a difference. At Woolmark, we encourage young designers, and the great event that we do every year is the International Woolmark Prize. It's available to designers to participate. It's a competition. It was first won in 1953 by Yves Saint Laurent and Karl Lagerfeld. It is going to be held in London in February. I encourage you in the industry here to put Turkey forward. Turkey hasn't been put forward enough, in my view, because there is massive creativity here. We'd like to see that in wool in the International Woolmark Prize. And just to end on a note of education, we are passionate about teaching younger people about the properties of wool and the environmental credentials of wool, that if they invest in wool, and I do realize, ladies and gentlemen, I have a friend here in the audience who was wanting to make some wool t-shirts, and she did quite effectively, but couldn't sell them. They were too expensive. It's $60 rather than $6. But if you bought a $60 one, you would feel wonderful in it for 5 years. You wouldn't have to wash it too much, and you wouldn't smell. So I think, you know, a $54 upgrade is probably worth it for your personal hygiene, your appearance, and your health. But this is a message we need to put forward to younger consumers. So, we've created a wool learning center. And Gulay is available to talk to you about it on the Woolmark stand. There's a link there if you'd like to have a look. And it's a series of lectures, a series of talks and interactive things on the internet that tell you all about wool. I use it for teaching sales assistants. I use it for students. It is a good operation. Wool is not being consumed enough. We need greater consumption of wool for its biodegradable, natural and renewable properties. In Germany, we consume 0.36 kilos per head per year. In Italy, 0.44. In Japan, 0.37. In UK, 0.40. In the US, 0.19. The home of Polly and Esther, the patron saints of fast fashion. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I haven't gone over my time. I've tried to be brief, and thank you so much for your attention. I've kept you too long. Thank you.
Mr. Ackyord, thanks for your speech, and we will have a gift for you for the gift ceremony. Türkiye Giyim Sanayici Derneği Yönetim Kurulu Başkan Yardımcısı Sayın Murat Aydın'ı alkışlarınızla hediye takdimi için sahneye davet ediyorum. Sayın Aydın. Woolmark Company Global Strateji Danışmanı Peter Ackyord'a çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Kuvvetli bir alkış alalım mı sunumlarından dolayı? Kuvvetli alkışlar Mr. Ackyord ve Sayın Aydın'a.